So, you didn't show up.
So we're here. We took matters into our own hands. We figured out the projector.
Using the classroom.
We're just going to do a presentation.
For you. Right now.
Yes.
So, our country is Eritrea by Katie and Antonia. So a little bit of geography. Eritrea is right here. It's bordered by Sudan, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and then the Red Sea. It's pretty small. It's about 1/84th of the U.S. Population is 3.6 million, and that's roughly the size of like Ohio or Pennsylvania. And the languages they speak there are Tigrinya, Tigray, Arabic, English, and Italian, and then the scripted languages are Ge'ez, Latin, and Arabic script.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, so the refugee crisis in Eritrea is a little different than other countries since they're not having a war. So pretty much why they're having this crisis is they're in one of the worst dictatorships in the world. And Isaias Afwerki is the president, and he's been the president since 1993, so pretty long time, and there hasn't been an election since 1991. They basically have no legislature, no judicial system, no constitution. They don't have a government.
Yeah.
They have a constitution, they just don't.
They abandoned it.
They don't use it.
Yeah.
They just do nothing with it.
No. Yeah. And he's not a president. He's like a dictator.
Yeah, kind of really mean.
Yeah. So a lot of the problems under his like dictatorship are the humanitarian crimes. So in Eritrea, they have an 18-month sentence for like national service, and it starts at 18. And it's both for men and for women. But there's no war going on, so the conditions of the national service like rises to the like point of slavery. They don't use them. They use them for like construction and agriculture and stuff that has nothing to do with the military or the service to their country. They don't pay them, and then the men get beaten and the women get raped. So it's just like horrible conditions. If they try and escape, they're shot immediately on site. They're not even like incarcerated. And they pay them not even enough to support themselves, so nevertheless their families. So if they stay, their family is in like really bad poverty, and then if they try and leave, they're killed. So
they basically get drafted for a war that doesn't exist to be a slave.
Yeah.
And they're like forced.
And then they, in like 2015, they issued a limit for those 18 months. So the sentence was the limit, and you couldn't work any, or you couldn't be in it for more than 18 months, but they never
went through with it.
Yeah, they never like institutionalized it. And then they also set a limit for the or like they set like a minimum wage for what they're supposed to be paid, and they never put that into effect either. So it's still like horrible conditions.
And laying on a bed of lies. So some of the things going on right now is the worst jailer of journalists in Africa. They do not like journalists coming into their country. There's no free press. Their internet access is completely monitored by the state, and only 1% of the population even have it. Back to, I guess, like legislature, it's really rare to receive a trial, and they can arrest you for basically no reason. And then this bullet point right here is what we just talked about, the new code in 2015 that they just aren't implementing because they don't have to, I guess. And their religious freedom doesn't really exist either. You can only practice the Sunni Islam, Eritrean Orthodox, Roman Catholic, or evangelical.
Yeah. A while back, like 2 years ago, they even like went as far as to try and confiscate all paper currency from like all the civilians. They just wanted to return like all paper currency back to their officials, and they had like 6 weeks to do it. And then now, any kind of transaction that goes over the equivalent of $200 has to be written in a check, and that goes through a whole process, and they have no system. So they basically like aren't giving them any money or any power to do what they want with the money that they're getting taken away from them. And then asylum seekers by the end of 2015 was 12% of their population, which was 474,296 refugees, which is insane. And obviously, like, the first kind of places that they seek refuge are their neighbors, but their neighbors aren't in great shape either, and it's very, like, hostile for them. And in May of 2017, Sudan found 400 Eritrean refugees and expelled them back to Eritrea, where they were all incarcerated, and those conditions are absolutely awful. So there's not really, like, a safe place for them to go right around there. A little bit about the culture. So for food and economy, it's like absolutely all agriculture based. Over 75% of the people live in rural areas and conduct like all agricultural production. They don't export, they don't import much. It's a very like self-sustained country. And for the variation of jobs like within the agriculture, they actually do look at education a lot and experience. So there's a little bit of a system.
They mention in some of the articles about having like the other 20-ish% living in an urban area, but we looked at it and I don't really think their idea of an urban area is what we think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's more of if you're literally in the mud or if you're working in a factory type environment. So there's not any type of like city or anything like that there. Some things about their culture, they usually have arranged marriages, which is to be expected in these types of countries.
And really young at like 13 or 14, which is crazy.
Really sad. Yeah. The families usually stay close together. They don't live with huge.
Their extended
families. They kind of stay together as a pact, which.
Great for them.
Great for them.
It's patrilinear, so they track the families down by the dad's side. I know a lot of like African countries are matrilinear, so this one's pretty different. And then the children, even though they only live with like their nuclear families, like their siblings and their mom and dad, their children are raised really close in kinship. So like their extended family is around, and that's like 100% how their children are raised because there's like barely any education. They all learn from their families and. Kinships are really big for them.
And then we decided to throw in some fun facts after all the dark things we just went over. So traditional foods that they eat are only eaten by their right hand and no silverware, which is interesting.
The left hand was considered to be unholy.
No PDA. They have a huge thing about that. They think it's rude and weird. With the opposite sex, but with the same sex, they have some weird kind of situation where boys hold hands. We're not really
Outside
sure.
of friendship, boys and men will hold hands.
Right. We're not really sure about that one. And then they only have one university in the entire country called Asmara University, which is really small, and they barely accept anybody, and I don't imagine it's the greatest education that you could get, but they do have one higher education institution.
Yes. So some of the post-asylum struggles, like once they finally do get saved, obviously it's not like all smooth sailing. So once they get here, some of the struggles are like language barriers, so learning and understanding English. Obviously securing work, all they did there and knew there was agriculture. So even from other countries where they like have really good jobs and then come here and have to be taxi drivers, like Eritreans don't even have like that novelty. Securing housing, obviously, which our house and the UN helps do. Documentation, transportation, lots of cultural barriers, and then the one that we found like super interesting was helping children succeed in school because if they have no education and like they're not brought around that, it must be really different for them to come here and have school be so big, and so that's cool that our house helps like facilitate that and helps like them encourage their children to succeed in school.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting when like Miss Emerald told me once that they were having parents come in for a parent-teacher conference, I guess, and she said that almost none of the parents spoke English, so they had to have the children like translate for them, which is probably really hard because I know like when I would come home, like my mom would help me with my homework and stuff like that. So it's probably really difficult for those kids to make good grades and learn cultural aspects that we got to learn at home. Like they don't get that, so that's why like Heart House is so cool, and
we loved that.
We loved that
little thing.
we loved it. So some United Nations involvement. They have a few camps in New Zealand and the United States, obviously. Ethiopia is also a big place that they send refugees to, and they're trying to locate about 100 people a day, which could be better, but they're trying. And then the last point is they are often relocated from camp to camp. And I found this out from my little buddy Dot. She one time said, actually it was this hat. She goes, "What did your hat say?" And I go, "New York." And she said, "Oh my God, I used to live in New York." And she said that she went from Malaysia to New York to Dallas to Midland and then back to Dallas, I think. So these kids have been all around and they finally have found a place, but they do have to jump around until they find where they're settled.
Yeah, and in 2016 they had 21,200-ish people located to Ethiopia, and then over 20,000 in 2017. And this article is from 2017, so it was much more by the end to Ethiopia. And then the main goal is to eventually get them out of the camp in Ethiopia and into like New Zealand and the United States. So it's a huge number, but they are doing great.
But they're trying. And to end on a cute note, our little buddy Dot, who is not from Eritrea. She's from Malaysia, but she's adorable, and
we'll miss her.
We will miss all of the kids, and they are so sweet, and we'll miss you. And we'll come by and see you.
Yay,
bye.